The Disneyland Limited, now leaving for a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Welcome to the Grand Circle Tour podcast. I'm Caroline Koller, and I'm so glad you've joined us tonight. I'm here with Mindy. Hey, Mindy.
Hi, Caroline. So good to see you again.
You too. It's been a while since we've been on together.
It's been a long time. I think it's just like hit or miss the way the schedule was put together.
And we also have George, and George and I are on every episode together, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. It's been, I guess, again, how the schedule rolls. We've been on, 3 in a row.
That's right. That's right.
I'm very happy.
We're all excited to be here. And tonight, I thought that we could talk about a beginner's guide to Walt Disney World. Because I want you to go, all of us want you to go to Walt Disney World and love it and have a great time. And a lot of people go and they hate it and they have negative feelings. And I always just think, oh man, if they'd known this or they'd known this, it would have helped make it a more fun and a less frustrating experience. So tonight we're going to give some tips, some highlights of things that, whether you've been 0 times or 10 times, things that can maybe enhance your trip to have more fun and less stress. I'm a travel agent with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, so this is what I deal with every single day, all day long, and it makes me so happy when my clients go and have an amazing time. So I want you all to have the same experience. Mindy, do you want to start with you, and do you have a tip that you feel like is important for a beginner to know?
To Walt Disney World?
Yes.
That is a great question, because let me dissect this a bit, go back. So my husband and I first visited Walt Disney World together. This was back in 2002. So it's been a long time, but I knew nothing. I am a Disneyland, know-it-all. And I just thought Walt Disney World was going to be like Disneyland, where you could just go. You don't have dining plans at Disneyland. You can make reservations on the spot. But what I learned, and I got that really big, the unofficial guide to Walt Disney World, and I started reading it, and I was really overwhelmed because we were leaving in a month and realized we had done nothing. So I got a package. We did a land and sea. But if I were going to tell anybody, is to pick, I know it's hard to say this because there's not really an off season anymore, but go when it's less busy. We went in the smack dab of April, and it wasn't the best experience, and we did not make one dining reservation at all. We thought, we can just walk up to a restaurant. There's so many. And I remember going to Epcot, and we were going to go to Le Cellier, and we walk over there and we're like, hey, can we get reservations? And the guy literally laughed at us. Are you kidding me? So that's what I would first tell you, is pick a time to where you can do everything you want. And the most amount of time is pick a time that's good for your family. Pull your kids out of school. I know, flame me, but do it. You won't regret it.
That's a wonderful, wonderful tip. And I will tell you that, and I'm with you, pull your kids out of school. I will tell you that Disney has figured out when the downtimes were, and there almost are no downtimes anymore.
Correct.
So be fully prepared that it's going to be crowded when you go. But the worst time to go would be the week of Christmas and New Year's. That would be horrible. Around Easter, I would not go around Easter. One really good time to go, if you can take the heat, is right after Labor Day, because all the schools all over the country are in. And that is one of the slowest times of the year.
And that's where it's great for us. I live in Arizona, and our kids do year-round school. Well, with year-round, because it's 150 degrees here, our kids get out of school pretty much the beginning of June, but they go back around July 25th. So they only get a month and a half off. Well, they start July 25th-ish, and they get out September 20th, but they get 3 weeks out of school for fall break. And everybody's starting school. We're already done with the first little semester, and we're taking off to Walt Disney World. It's we have traveled that last week of September for umpteen years now. We take our Disney cruises those 2 weeks. We go to Walt Disney World those 2 weeks and get free dining because they always offer it in September. It's hot, but it's so worth it. There's nobody there. And it's a give and take. You do have to pull your kids out. For us, we don't. But if you live in Arizona, that's great. But yeah, you're right. Because what had happened is the tickets, they have these tiered ticket systems. So the value season, everybody goes to that to save money now. So it's filling up the parks during those less busy times of value. And what I'm finding is that the parks is during the old quote, peak times is almost not as crowded as going during the value season.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And whatever works best for your family is obviously going to work best for you having fun on vacation. But that is our tip. If you can go when it's not traditionally crazy crowded, that's when you should go. George, do you have a tip?
Yes, I do. Kind of going off what Mindy said very briefly when she said she went to Disney World about trying to find reservations and everything. So staying on that subject with the dining, I cannot stress enough to people, and I tell them constantly all the time. And I know each person has their preference depending on the number of people in their family going, how long they're staying. But for me, I would strongly suggest having a Disney dining plan when doing Walt Disney World for a few reasons. One, and I actually got a taste of it when our very own Jungle Skipper Jay decided for one of our adventures to come up with a budget plan for a family going to Walt Disney World. And I have to tell you, me sitting there with a notepad and a pen going through everything, it was very difficult. I mean, it's doable, but and it's not something that I want to do when I'm on vacation where, okay, we could spend this, and this at this time. What's this bill and everything? For me, what the dining plan does is it pays for your meals up front. So when you actually go into the parks, you don't have to worry about really how much you're spending on food. You can get that extra dessert. You can get that expensive entree without having to worry about it. You could pretty much go into any, and especially with the deluxe dining plan, you can do those higher end restaurants. For instance, my wife and I go to the California Grill, whether it's for like our anniversary or just for a normal trip. And with our dining plan, we end up having 2 glasses of champagne, 1 because they give it to us for our anniversary, and 2 because it's included in the deluxe dining plan. And then we get a full-on entree and everything, and then we do pay out of pocket for the tip for the waiter or the wait staff because they really deserve it. But other than that, as far as the bill for the food goes, we don't even look at the price. We just order what we want, scan our magic bands, and that's that. So
One thing I would just like to add to this is that you can get the regular dining plan that has 1 table service credit per night per stay, and you can still use it for the signature dining restaurants.
Yes.
So the regular dining plan and the deluxe dining plan feature the table credits where you can use them at the signature restaurants as well. And they also, and it also includes the alcohol that is included in your deluxe dining plan.
And the only reason why we still lean on to the deluxe dining plan is it gives a little more, because I know that the Be Our Guest, if you happen to get reservations for the Be Our Guest restaurant for dinner, that I think if I got it correctly, they moved it to 2 sit downs, correct?
Yes. Okay. So you may run out, yes. So we won't make this a dining plan episode, but yes, absolutely.
So that would be my biggest tip for someone going into Disney World, especially if they're not familiar with the restaurants and how much things cost, that rather not deal with it, just get the dining plan, go, and you won't have to worry about it.
Great tip. My first tip is to stay on Disney World property. And the reason that I say that is there are many reasons to stay on property, but my main reason for your early trip is getting around Disney World is a lot of work. It's a big, big space. It's a big area. It's not the most walkable place. I mean, once you're in the park, it's walkable, but getting from park to park, it takes a lot of time. And by staying on property, you are going to reduce the stress and the amount of time that you have to allow to get to the parks. So stay on Disney property. It's more expensive. Yes, it is. But the benefits that come with it, the magic hours, the use of the transportation, getting from park to park, using Magical Express, which is the shuttle service from Orlando International Airport, MCO, to your Disney Resort Hotel. Those are some added things, but my main reason for recommending it is the ease you will have in getting from your hotel to the parks. So stay on Disney property. And if you're worried about the price, stay at a value resort. Those are the least expensive, and they're very clean and they're cute. They're not big and they're not fancy, but they're clean and they're cute. And you get the same perks as the people staying on deluxe resorts. So that's my number one tip. Okay, Mindy, we're going to go back around to you. Do you have another one?
Another tip: choose what works best for your family for lodging. Because there's value resorts, there's moderate, and then there's deluxe. Which one fits into your budget? There's so many different options. We've done all 3. And I would say I actually like the value resorts. Just because it's so Disney in your face. The other ones are themed to different cultures and different ideas and themes. But the Disney value resorts, the beds are rock hard. We're a family of 4, and it's pretty tight in the tiny rooms, but we really enjoyed it. We stayed at the All-Star Resort, and we had free dining during our last recent trip, and we had a blast. It was probably my favorite trip that we'd had, and we stayed at both Riverside resorts, the Port Orleans French Quarter and Riverside, and I loved that. It's my favorite resort, but I think I had funner at the Value Resort just because, you know what, I don't know why. It was a blast. I didn't ever want to leave. I was sad that we were going to go get on a Disney cruise for 7 days. Get that, right?
Wow.
I wanted to stay. Fun. We did. So think of that options. There's so many different things that'll fit your family and your budget. Look at all of them. There's so many to choose from, but my picks would be either Pop Century or the All-Star Resort for value, and moderate, definitely Riverside. It's so pretty and calm and serene. And for the value, hands down Polynesian. It's so cool in there.
That's a deluxe resort.
Yes, at the deluxe resort. So those are my picks for each one. But that would be the best tip, is sit down and choose your lodging and what works best for your family.
Okay, fantastic. George, do you have another tip?
Yes, I do. Staying on the resort hotels, believe it or not, there are some hotels on the property that have what I call that extra perk, so to speak, by being closer to the action of the theme parks.
Those are called deluxe resorts. It's just like real estate. location, location, location.
Yes. So, specifically, I'll give two examples. Yes, you can do the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian, where you hop on the monorail, takes you right over. But a little tip that I tell people that they don't even know at times, if you stay at the Contemporary, you don't even have to wait for the monorail. You can literally walk right over to the Magic Kingdom. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a little pathway, literally right out from the front door to the Magic Kingdom, so you wouldn't even have to wait for any transportation. And another great tip is the Disney's Boardwalk Resort, because with the Boardwalk, you're right in between Epcot and Hollywood Studios, for which you can walk to both of them. You can go right into the International Gateway of Epcot, and if you go off of the Boardwalk and make a left when you pass Walt Disney's Swan and Dolphin Resort, there's an underpath trestle, underneath where the road is, and it leads you right up to Hollywood Studios. So if you're staying at the Boardwalk, it's very convenient for at least those two theme parks that you won't even have to wait for any transportation whatsoever. You can come and go as you please.
That is great tips. You also, if you stay at the Yacht or Beach Club, you can also walk to both parks as well.
Definitely.
And that walk over to Hollywood Studios is really a nice walk. It's a bit of a walk, but to me, it's so worth it to me to walk over there.
And every time you see the boats passing, carrying the guests, I always like to wave and get them to toot the little horn.
Yeah.
It's a tradition of mine.
That's a good tradition. Also, I was going to tell you that if you stay at the Polynesian, which is also on the monorail, so you can hop on the monorail to get to Magic Kingdom, but you can also walk over to the monorail station that takes you to Epcot. And it's super close by. So that's a really nice little tip there. And like I had said before, that the way that the resort hotels are, if the closer they are to the park, the more expensive they're going to be, like real estate. So it's the closer location. But it's, if it's in your budget, I think the three of us agree that the amenities are worth it.
Oh, for sure.
One of my next tip is, please know that when you go to Disney World, you can't do everything. And I know people go and they have all these plans, all these things they think they're going to do. And all that ends up happening is they get mad at each other and they fight in the parks. And Lord knows we have all seen people having fusses in the park. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes. They're nodding their heads. They're like, yes. So just please know that when you go, you can't do everything. You don't have to have a character dining. There are things that you can do the next time you go. There are characters in the park. So you can, you can't do everything. Don't try to do everything. Disney World is a working vacation. You don't generally come home feeling refreshed. You generally come home feeling like, wow, that was so much fun, but I'm exhausted. And so what we want for you is to have that feeling of, wow, that was so much fun and I'm exhausted, not, wow, I'm exhausted and that sucked, because we were all so stressed out the entire time. So one of my best tips is lower your level of expectation about what you can see and what you can do. And I think that you will have more fun. Okay, Mindy, do you have another
tip? Oh, geez. Let's see. Pick whether you want to do park hopper or not. There's different tickets you can purchase. Personally, I would suggest to not. Especially if you're going to go for your first time and you don't know the parks very well, it eats up a lot of time to park hop. So I would suggest picking a park and take a day off. And that's a whole other tip. But in those days, whatever ticket you do choose, don't get park hoppers. I've done both. And staying in one park, in my opinion, helps you get to see everything you want to, especially for a first timer. It makes it hard to hop around and not know where you're at and have to get out your map and not feel comfortable where you're going. And it just eats up a lot of time. And time is money at Disney. Time is money at Walt Disney World. And to get the most out of your money, just stay in one park and enjoy that for the day.
That's a great tip. And that goes back to my original tip of why I suggested staying on property and why Mindy suggesting get a base ticket is that the amount of time it takes to travel around Disney World, it's almost unexplainable until you do it. And so staying in one park the entire time, the entire day, I mean, that is a great, great tip. Highly recommend that. Great tip. George, do you have another tip?
I do.
Oh, good.
This actually has to do with Disney's Fast Passes. What a lot of people don't know, especially first-timers, is that, as you were mentioning, Caroline, that there is lots to do at Walt Disney World, and you can't do it all. However, Disney Fast Passes do help you get on the most popular attractions pretty quick. However, there are some attractions that are in the category with popularity that you can't always do the fast passes during that same day. And I guess I'll give you an example. At Epcot, the attractions of Soarin', Test Track, and Frozen Ever After, you get 3 fast passes per day, depending on if you have a single day ticket or a park hopper that you can mix and match. But say you have a single day ticket and you're at Epcot, you can't have your 3 fast passes as Test Track, Frozen Ever After, and Soarin'. You could only choose one of those 3 and then choose something else. And then also with the fast passes is that if you book your fast passes ahead of time, and that's what I also say too as a number 1 tip, don't wait till you're actually there on vacation to say, oh, on a whim, I'll see what fast passes are available. When it is time for you to book your fast passes, do it the day that you are able to, especially with rides of Flight of Passage at Pandora, Slinky Dog in Toy Story Land, because those fast passes will go instantly for that group of people that when it's time for them to book their fast passes, it will go. And one last little tip of the fast passes is if you book ahead of time, if you do all your fast passes earlier on in the day, when you're there, you are allowed to opt to choose an extra fast pass after each hour when you go on a ride. So if you spread out your fast passes during the day, you won't really have too much of that option to do so when you're there.
Great tip. Great tip. Speaking of piggybacking on the do them early in the day, this is probably, as far as seeing the parks, this is my these are the most words of wisdom I have for you. You are not there to sleep in. You need to be at the parks. 30 minutes in my mind, you need to be standing at those parks 30 minutes before the rope drops. The early bird, definitely 100%. There aren't a lot of certainties in this life, death, taxes, and if you're at Disney World, before it opens, you can see more in the first 2 hours than the rest of the schmucks are going to see all day long. And I mean schmucks in the nicest way, but do not sleep in. Do not sleep in. Get up, be at the parks, because you can go and see everything because everybody else slept in. And I mean, be there. This is my rule. Be there 30 minutes before the rope drops. There are so many people to chat with. It'll go fast. I know it'll be early, but it's okay because you paid all that money. And let's face it, Disney is not a cheap vacation. And you did not go. You're not going to Disney World just to stand in line. So get to the parks 30 minutes before rope drop, and then you can go do so much more. Do you all agree with me on that?
Definitely, because, and I was actually just going to say, our last trip in July, we did the rope drop for Animal Kingdom, which we've never done before, but we knew we were going to because we wanted to try to at least get in 2 rides in for Flights of Passage, because we already had a fast pass later on in the day. And I said, let's get there early. And we only waited 30 minutes, I believe. It was 30 minutes for Flight of Passage. So we ended up riding it twice that day. And we rode Cali River Rapids twice in a row, back to back, because it was only like a 5-minute wait because the crowds weren't there yet. And then we rode Dinosaur 3 times, and then Expedition Everest. So we got all that in within 2 hours.
Absolutely. That's the thing, is if you go early, if you are there, not when the park opens, at least 30 minutes before rope drop, you can go and do the big stuff, all the big stuff, before the other people even get there, most of them. And really, you can go do all the big stuff in 2 hours. And you can repeat some of it, just like George did. So that is and then you know what you can do? You go, or you're there early, you get to go do all the big stuff, all the important stuff, and do it again if you want. And then you know what? At 11 o'clock or noon, leave. When the park is at its highest capacity with people, go get something to eat, go take a nap, and you'll just be so excited and so glad you did. And I promise you, it will make your vacation so much more fun, so much more enjoyable, and you can write me letters and thank me if you want for that tip. But but anyway, because we want you to go to Disney World, we want you to experience Disney World, and we want you to have a great time there. That's what we want. So anyway, that is my best and final tip. Do you guys have any more tips?
So
Mindy?
Caroline, I don't want to disagree with you because I think that's a great tip, but to go off that vein, coming from Arizona or the West Coast, it's a big time change, 4 hours. So it's you get up at 6 in the morning, it's getting up at 2 a.m. for our time. So my suggestion, we always skip rope drop, and we actually go and enjoy the pool in the morning and have a great lunch and actually sleep in. And we stay till late. I mean, closing, when there's nobody at the parks. So I feel like staying late is almost the same as going at rope drop. There's nobody there. Everybody's gone, especially after the fireworks or that nighttime show. Everybody leaves, and you can take advantage of an empty park. So we're always night people, and being that we people from the West Coast do have such a big time change, maybe suggest you do that, is stay up late because you're not going to be as tired. And getting little kids up and having that time change, they are cranky. So not dragging little kids around that are screaming because they're so tired and you're trying to adjust, and by the time you adjust, it's time to leave. So keep that in mind. If you're coming from the West Coast, you might want to suggest staying till midnight and enjoying the park at night.
Yeah, that's a great tip. If you can stay up until, midnight and 1 a.m, when it's open that late, check the hours. Depending on when you go, the park may not be open that late. And if the park's only open till 9 o'clock, it's not going to be as advantageous because more people will stay at 9 o'clock than they will stay till 11 or midnight.
Correct.
But that's a great tip for night owls. If you can't get there before the park opens and you can stay until right before the park closes, that is a great tip. That's great. Yes, George, what were you going to say?
I'm actually going to feed off of Mindy's suggestion too as another tip. As you're booking your trip, also take in consideration of the extra magic hours, the morning extra magic hours and the night extra magic hours, and that way you can decipher of what days to do which parks, depending on if you want to have that extra time in the park. So if day 2, Hollywood Studios has that extra magic hours, plan your trip to go to Hollywood Studios on your second day, and Magic Kingdom for your third. So that's basically what I do, is I look at the extra magic hours first, and then that's when I decipher which days to do which parks, and then what reservations to do within the parks and everything. So I basically use that as the base for us anyways. If you want to do the magic hours, I use that as the base to kind of put the puzzle pieces together to actually form our vacation.
Excellent. And for anybody who's new that's listening and doesn't know all this lingo that we throw out so easily, because it's second nature to us, but extra magic hours are the hours before or after, depending on the day and the park, that the park is open for guests that are staying on property at the Disney hotels. So those are a great perk. And they're also a reason to avoid a park too. So anyway, does anybody have anything else to add? No?
Take a break. Take a break.
Yes,
we talked about that, but take a break during the day. Take an off day. Add an extra day just to enjoy your resort. I promise you, you need that downtime. You need that recovery day just to keep going, or your family is cranky. So just add in an extra day. Pay the extra money. You'll enjoy it. It's much more fun. You're not running around, and you actually get to enjoy your resort.
And actually, what you're saying, Mindy, is too, on top of having that extra day, I also say have a day before you actually start your vacation and a day after, and then in between. So when you actually travel down, it's not that rush. Okay, we're jet lagged, we don't have our have that day be your relaxation day to come off your jet lag and everything. Prep everyone for what to do for the very next day, for the first start of your vacation, and then have a day at the end of your vacation just to kind of wind down, relax, and then get everything ready for your trip home.
Those are great tips. And really, everybody, our goal is that we want you to love Disney World as much as we do, and we want you to go, and have a fantastic time. And we don't want there to be those Disney haters out there anymore. We want those Disney haters to go and have a fun time. So if you know somebody that's about to go to Disney World or thinking about it, and they're not as experienced as you, would you tell them about our podcast and share this episode with them? And because we want to make Disney lovers out of everybody. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we go tonight?
No, that's a great episode. If you have any questions, put it on the page. We're happy to help answer any questions that you guys have and make your trip the most it can be.
Absolutely. George, you have anything?
Actually, I have one last final little tidbit. If you are flying into Orlando International Airport, utilize Disney's Magical Express. It's free. It's the transportation to and from your resort hotel to the airport, vice versa. If you want them to take your bags into the room for you where you don't have to worry about it, you can add that Magical Express luggage tags on it. If you don't, you could just take them with you. And, if your room's not ready, you could have them hold your bags while you go into the pool or go to the parks and everything. But if you're definitely flying into Orlando, and to definitely save money on the transportation back and forth, utilize Disney's Magical Express.
That's a really great tip. And one thing I want to say that there are 2 airports in Orlando, and Magical Express only is offered from Orlando International, and the airport code is MCO. So that's the airport that you have to use to take Magical Express. And the other thing I was going to tell you is Disney is now charging to park your car at the resort hotels. So if you don't have a car, you don't have to pay to park it overnight. So anyway, that's another tip. Thanks, George. That was great. We will let you go this evening, and please tell your friends and people that you know about our podcast. We want to help people love Disney, and we love to talk about Disney, and we want to talk about it with you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Grand Circle Tour podcast. We'll talk to you next time. Take it away, Kim.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to send us a message, you can email us at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.